Today we're going to be cooking sourdough tortillas. This video is going to be a step-by-step once you have your dough ready, how the cooking process goes. So at this point, this dough has been fermenting with the sourdough starter for probably 2 or 3 days, longer than I usually go. But in order to make these tortillas, all you got to do is just take your dough ball and cut off a little piece of it. You can see right here in the dough ball, I've had this sitting out of the fridge for probably the last 2 hours, and that active starter's coming back to life. You can see it with the bubbles in. Now all we're going to do is take this dough ball and we're going to roll it out. Now this part takes a little bit of practice, but it's not too hard. It ain't rocket science. All you got to do is start with the ball, and then you're going to essentially pull each side towards you, kind of like you're making a U shape, and over time you're just going to get a really good, nice circular tortilla shape. Just like that. Here's another angle just to show you the motion with the rolling pin a little bit better. So you grab your dough ball and then you're just going left to right, making kind of a U shape with the way you're rolling the pin. And if a little side gets a little funky on you, a little wonky, all you got to do is just kind of fold it in so it's a little bit thicker in that area. Then you're just rolling it out again, left to right. And that gets you a pretty good circle. Now this part's important. When you pick it up off the counter, you want to roll it from the back. This dough, as you can see here in a second, can get pretty thin, and it's fermenting a while, right? So it's not as stretchy as normal. A lot of that gluten has broken down at that point. So you can get it pretty thin, and you'll see here it's actually pretty easy to pull apart and break. And if you do, make yourself another dough ball, roll it side to side and with the rolling pin, and then you'll have another tortilla just fine. But one thing that's great about this dough and this tortilla recipe, specifically with making it with sourdough, is of course it spends time to ferment with that sourdough starter. And so what you're going to get is a tangier tortilla than what you're going to get in the store. Now it might sound a little bit weird, but they actually taste really, really good. You can still use this like you would a normal tortilla, or you can kind of use it like a flatbread of sorts if you're making sandwiches. And they also taste really good just in hummus as well. I prefer to use coconut oil when I'm cooking these in a cast iron. Cast iron retains the heat very well. Now, the one thing about the coconut oil is that the smoking point is lower than other oils, say butter or olive oil. And so you're going to see here that it actually starts smoking pretty quickly. Now, the coconut oil does give these tortillas, a little bit of a sweeter taste than if you're using butter or olive oil. It's not so much savory, but it's a little bit sweeter. The way I like to know if the pan is hot is I want to be right at that smoking point if I'm using this coconut oil. You can see here a little bit of it is burning off. When you put the tortillas on there, that dough, and when it starts to cook, it's actually going to drop that temperature a little bit because the dough is going to be soaking up that heat and absorbing that heat. And that's how I feel like I always know you have it at a pretty good point once you put the dough on there, and then that smoke starts to dissipate a little bit. And you can notice the transfer going from the counter into the pan. This is a pretty good one. Sometimes they get a little funky on you, a little wonky, because that dough is so thin. But this one still held the tortilla shape pretty well. The tortillas don't need a ton of time to cook on the cast iron. Usually I keep them about 4 minutes on the first side and maybe 3 or 4 minutes on the second side, just to make sure they're cooked all the way through. Now, you don't want to cook them too long because you don't want them to lose the moisture. Otherwise, they can get pretty brittle, and you don't want to be cooking crackers. You want to be cooking tortillas. Right here is an example of these sourdough tortillas once they are fully cooked. Now, as we compare these to store-bought tortillas, they're going to be a little bit different, right? You're making them at home. The shapes are not going to be a perfect circle like what you're getting at the store. The dough is actually going to be a little bit thicker when it's fully cooked than the tortillas you get at the store. The dough actually puffs up a little bit in the cast iron, but nonetheless, the flavor profile is way better. It's also much healthier because it is fermented and doesn't have any added preservatives. Check out the comment section if you want the recipe for this, and follow for more videos like this, recipes from real people.